This is the 2023 Ford Edge ST line in the beautiful black metallic paint. I gotta say, it looks pretty sharp. The ST line version of the Edge is a little bit more unique than the rest of the Edge lineup, with the exception of the Edge ST. But I would probably say my favorite would be the ST for that beefy 2.7-liter engine, but it does come down to a matter of preference. Now, the ST line has some unique interior and exterior highlights, including these beautiful 20-inch black wheels. This video is just going to be a basic walkthrough going over the different features that you're going to find inside the vehicle. If you want to know how to use the steering wheel, the cluster screen, or the Sync 4 media screen, you'll find that walkthrough down in the description of the video. You'll also be able to find a build link for this specific one, and the contact details for Formula Ford, who were nice enough to lend this thing to me for the afternoon to shoot the video for you guys today. You're only going to be able to find the Edge with Ford's intelligent all-wheel drive system. And that doesn't matter if you're down in the States or if you're up here in Canada. Strictly the intelligent all-wheel. Big benefit there is that the computer's brain essentially figures out which wheel needs which amount of power, and it automatically diverts it as necessary. So there isn't a button on the inside to let you figure out if you want to go all-wheel drive all the time, unfortunately. But the computer's brain is pretty smart, and having that intelligent all-wheel drive is also really, really nice. You're going to find LED headlamps inside of the Edge, and then some fog lamps down below. The fog lamps are all going to depend on which model of the vehicle that you're in. But I love the overall look here, like this black paint with the ST line looks sharp because there are some small chrome highlights. Like if you look along the fog lamp, and then even the Ford blue oval right in the grille. But outside of that, this thing is pretty much like black on black, which looks fantastic. Looking at some technology inside of the Edge. So the ST line version is not going to have the forward sensing system available as an option. We're looking at the titanium or the ST if you wanted to go that route. But a few other things. The Edge is only going to have a 180 camera available as an option. Again, those higher trim levels, but that front-facing camera would be there. The brand new Escape that came for 2023 actually does have the option for a full 360 camera, which is kind of cool. And it's got a brand new look for 2023 on top of that. So if you want to walk through specifically on the Escape, you can find that down in the description of the video. I'm kind of curious what the future of the Edge has in store. Because as of right now, this thing is still slated for a 2024 model, but the Oakville assembly plant is going through an electrification process in mid to late 2024. So unsure if it's going to be available after that. So 2025, who knows? So whether you decide to go for the Edge or if you look at the new Escape is going to be a matter of preference. One thing I can tell you though, the engine is underneath the hood, so the 2-liter and the 2.7 are available in the Bronco. Part availability is kind of all over the place too, but if you look historically at all of Ford's older vehicles, parts are still available for vehicles that are 10 plus years old. So if you're still kind of on the fence, you could look at leasing and then just turn it back in afterwards. But if you're the type of person where you just hang on to your vehicles, I think you are going to be covered off from Ford's side of things, looking at part availability and things like that for the next 5-7 years or so. There's a little release, just going to go to the left. On hydraulics, which is amazing. And you've got this. It's the 2-liter turbocharged engine. And you're going to find that 2-liter turbo in most models of the Edge, most trim levels of the vehicle. So 2-liter turbocharged engine is a really good engine. It's 250 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. So, I mean, you put your foot down, this thing is going. But if you want that little bit more, the Edge ST is probably what you're going to want to look at. That ST model has the 2.7-liter turbo instead, 335 horsepower, and 380 pound-feet of torque. It's like a little bit of a difference between the two of them. I personally, I love the power of the ST, but I know some people just don't care. And I mean, realistically, even the 2-liter, it still has a really, really good amount of power at the same time. It's just going to come down to a matter of preference there, but this thing, reliable engine overall. I did mention it's available in a series of other Ford vehicles too, but some basics under here. You can easily top up fluids, check change oil, and then easy access to the battery. And you want to just make sure that you're regularly maintaining your vehicle to make sure that you're keeping your manufacturer's warranty active at the same time. I mean, these cars, you're looking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You definitely just want to take care of them for a few reasons. Like I said, to make sure you're maintaining your manufacturer's warranty, but you're getting the best possible life out of your ride. Looking at some standard technology on the rear side of the Edge, you do have the reverse sensing system that'll always be there, along with the backup camera. From there, you've got your Ford badge and your Edge badge. And I mean, honestly, I do kind of like the look of the Edge badge there. Now, this one also does have the available tow package you can get right from the factory. And obviously, big benefit there, it's just cut in nicely. You've got trailer sway control on top of that that's included right from the factory. But this thing does have the 4-pin provisions and then a little cap for the receiver on top of that. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in the 2-liter or the 2.7-liter Edge. Max towing capacity inside of this thing is 3,500 pounds. If you're looking for a little bit more, you're looking pretty much the Explorer or the Expedition at that point. But the Explorer is going to kick it up to 5,600 pounds max towing capacity, depending on which model of the vehicle that you're looking at. Still pretty respectable, though. Depending on the model of the Edge that you've got, you might have a foot-activated liftgate. There is a power liftgate as well in pretty much every model regardless. But if you've got the key fob on you, you can double press there in order to be able to get inside. There's a button just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. And then just underneath, there's a little kind of handle there. There's a button, so you're just going to jam your fingers inside. Push. Up it goes. I mean, I love it. The Edge is a fairly wide vehicle, so they're in long vehicle too. And there's a boatload of cargo capacity back here. This is pretty cool. We'll get to the cargo measurements in just a second. But, I mean, this is nice. So, this is just the regular carpeted liner that you're going to find inside of the Edge. There is the option for a thermoplastic rubber tray instead. And then lifting this thing up, there's a boatload of storage space. So, a lot of space off to the left, off to the right. White spigot off to the left side. And then this thing also does have a mini spare tire. And the spare tire has the jack just underneath. So if you need to change the tire yourself, you could. But one nice thing about being a Ford owner is that you also have access to Ford Roadside Assistance. So that's good for the powertrain warranty. So 5-year, 100,000 kilometers or 60,000 miles. So if you ever do need to change a tire, you run out of gas, you need winching, whatever the case may be, there's an 800 number that you could call in order to get help instead. Your call. But outside of a bunch of space, there's not too much back here. There's an option for a cargo shade. Off to the right side, there's a nice amount of storage space there. Off to the left, there's a 12-volt power point. And then there are also a few releases for the second row seats. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could do it the tricky way, which off to the side, there's a release there in order to drop that second row seat down. But if you need to lower the seats from the cargo area, you've got that flexibility. So just near the 12-volt power point, there is one for the left and one for the right. So you can fold down one side or the other. So it's essentially a power release, but you have to manually lift it back up again. But when you push, let's say left side, down it goes. And I mean, look at all the space that you've got there. It's pretty nice. Now, a few things, the measurements that I do are actually right up until the armrest itself. So obviously if you had the driver passenger seat up a little bit more, you'd get a little bit more space there as well. So there actually is a really good amount of space inside of this thing. And one thing about the actual liftgate itself. So this thing, obviously it does raise up quite a little bit, but if you've got a garage at home that doesn't allow for quite as much clearance space, you can pull this down. And then there's a button you can push and hold. You're going to hear a chime after you hold it for a few seconds. And that means that the liftgate won't go past this point unless you manually lift it up and press the button again. So if you're either vertically challenged, you can't reach the button there, or your garage is a little bit lower, you can set a custom height if you want to, or just button press in order to close it. Filling up fuel inside of the Edge is also straightforward. So just along the driver's side, and it's a capless system that does feature anti-siphon technology. Now, the horsepower and torque specs that are achieved underneath the hood are all done using a premium fuel, so using a 94 octane. But having said that, minimum manufacturer's recommendation for the entire Edge lineup is just regular 87. So, do you need to use a higher octane fuel? No, but if you want the best possible performance out of this thing, 91, 93 octane, it's just unnecessary. This thing will still run great off of regular 87. All right, taking a peek along the driver's side door. So the 5-digit number pad is no longer available here, but some standard tech that is, blind spot monitoring system. So that's going to let you know if somebody's into the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. As long as you've got the key fob on you, you can push this little hamburger button there in order to lock the doors, or you can slide your hand in order to be able to unlock. But because this is the ST line, there are some nice highlights. You've got this beautiful red stitching that follows all the way throughout the door, the seats, the steering wheel. The seats are nice. It's the Ford's ActiveX seating material with a nice Miko insert. Feels really sharp. But back along the door. It's this nice metallic highlight that wraps throughout. Unlock lock buttons kind of built right into the speaker there. Side view mirror controls, kill off power to the rear windows, adjust your windows, little handle, a little bit of door storage with another little speaker. I like the seat though. Really nice look overall. And because this is the ST line, you do have the option of going forward, so power seats, so forwards, backwards, lift the seat up and drop it down, easily adjust your backrest. And then there's also two-way lumbar support as well. This thing, nice ST line scuff plate, which looks pretty sharp. Just to the left of the steering wheel, there are a series of different buttons. So this one's going to turn your fog lamps on or off. Figure out what's going on with your running lamps. I always just recommend keeping it in the auto setting. Oh, you've got a plus minus button there to adjust the brightness of the cluster screen and the Sync 4 media screen. A button to open or close the liftgate, and then toggle your traction control on or off as well. The steering wheel inside of the Edge is going to be a manual telescoping, so you can drop down there and then pull in, out, whatever the case may be, to adjust that perfect position for you. While I'm down here, I'm going to say pedals are kind of nice, but then there's also, right in the center stack there, a little storage area. So not a big amount of storage, but it's kind of nice that you've got that available as an option though. And then just to the other side, there's also a 12-volt power point there. Pretty useful. The seat is so comfortable though. So you've got either cloth seats, there's ActiveX seating material, leather seats, just depending on which model of the vehicle that you're in. But, I mean, the seat is really comfortable. Ooh! That's cool. Multi-way adjustable headrest, so it can go forwards and backwards, but then lifting it up and down as well. This is good. And hold on, with the seat, as far down as it's going to go, I've got 4-ish? I'd say about 4 inches of headspace. So not a ton of space, but a pretty good amount at the same time. This is good. Inside of the ST line version of the vehicle, you are just looking at heated first row seats available as an option. But when you get into the titanium, when you get into the ST version of the vehicle, you will have the option for ventilated first row seats as well. So if you are a fan of ventilated first row seats, that is definitely where you're going to want to be. And honestly, like, get the 2.7 liter engine, ventilated first row seats as an option. Like, those are kind of like checking even more of the boxes that I'd be after. Like, it's just making the ST look a little bit more appealing. But like I said, if you don't care about the power, don't care about the ventilated first row seats, the ST line is a pretty good option. I gotta say though, I really like the all the red stitching that follows through the steering wheel because of the ST line version of the vehicle. Now this one also does have the added Ford Copilot 360 Assist Plus package, so you've got some useful features. Adaptive cruise control is going to be the big one there, but I like this overall. And because of the Edge, you do have 2 screens in the middle there as well. But I mean, if you want to walk through, like you want to know how to use the steering wheel buttons, the cluster screen, or move through the Sync 4 media screen, check down in the description of the video. I've put together comprehensive walkthroughs explaining how everything works. But I mean, super straightforward. So you've got this one here, this pad to control the left screen, this pad to control the right screen, adaptive cruise control system, and then a series of other buttons as well. So change songs, radio stations, volume control, and things like that. Little plus minus buttons there as well, and that's 4 paddle shifters, so we can easily adjust gears out if we want to. Stick on the left side, turn our lane keeping system on or off, and that's one that's going to either give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake or nudge you back into your lane if you start to veer over without signaling. Off to the right side, adjust your front windshield wipers, or button on the tip of that stick, and that's for your rear wiper instead. It's a good amount of visibility inside of the Edge, the dash. A little removable tray that's built right in as well. This is nice. Here we're going to be push button start across the entire Edge lineup. And this is the Sync 4 media screen. So there are some small changes. Actually, hold on, I got to get some climate going. It is toasty in here. There we go. Look at this. Everything's built right in, which is kind of nice. Now, one interesting thing as well with this screen, it does support some pretty useful functionality. Ooh, there we go. And the big one is being able to adjust the climate control using your voice. So I know some people aren't a big fan of not having the physical tactile buttons, but you can push the voice command prompt here. If you wanted to do things like change songs, radio stations, and things like that. You'd also have the flexibility of adjusting the climate control as well, which is kind of neat. But, oh, this is nice. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. All right, look at this. Nice highlights. I like all the small, like, metallic highlights there because it, like, marries nicely throughout the door, through the vent, both sides. Just really nice. But like I said, new Sync 4 media screen, so it was introduced a couple of years ago, but this is even different than the 2022 model. So there are a few small changes and highlights, but it all works relatively the same way. Series of different games that are available now. That's kind of neat. Parking lot chaos. Squirrel. All right, so yeah, you've got a few different games that you can play. This screen, unfortunately, doesn't support video playback as of yet. So even if you're parked, even if you're connected through Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, whatever the case may be, you won't be able to play music, or I should say you won't be able to play video through the screen. Music is not a problem. You can go Bluetooth if you want to. You can hook up Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. If you want to go old school and just plug in through USB, you could also go that route instead. But there are so many different options available here. There's factory navigation inside of this thing. So with the built-in navigation, after the 3 years are up, if you don't continue on with the connected services, you still would have the flexibility of using it as a traditional GPS instead. So that is available there. But regardless, you can still connect through Android or iPhone devices to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze through iPhones, and then Google Maps through Android devices instead. So you've got that available as an option. It's really neat. Tons of different things that you could do. But like I said, full walkthrough, you'll find it in the description. But you can add a phone in, so Bluetooth connections, or you can go wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, easily toggle on your audio, and then all of your climate control settings as well. Now, you've got all sorts of different sources that are available as well. So AM, FM, Sirius XM. You could hook your phone up strictly over Bluetooth instead, so in order to stream music that way. And then if you have a USB stick with MP3s on it, you could also plug yourself in. Should take a second to recognize the source. The volume is going to be set to halfway.
Step 4. Can everybody just do your thing?
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's...
So the audio inside of this is pretty good, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my audio settings now, and I'm going to tweak it just a tiny little bit. So the settings I'm going to change out are the bass as well as the treble. So I'm going to drop the treble down by 2, and I'm going to crank the bass up by 3. And let's go.
It's gonna be a good day. Wake up,
There we go.
today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good...
So it's just like car-shakingly amazing, and that's just a small tweak. And that's the power of increasing your bass a tiny little bit and dropping the treble down. It just gives it more of like a full, deeper audio experience instead. You've got a volume rocker, tuning rocker, 4-way blinkers, and then a button press to get to your camera. If you were in an Edge that had the front-facing camera, that would also give you that front-facing available there as well. You could either change songs, radio stations, play pause. There's a wireless charge pad available here, and that comes standard in the ST line. Few USB power points, so USB Type A, USB Type C, and then that same like metallic highlight follows through the center stack here too, which is kind of nice. But the shifter, rotary dial, park reverse neutral drive, and then there's a dedicated sport mode on top of that. There's a little like phone holder there, a few cup holders, electronic parking brake, and then the auto start stop system. So that's the one that's potentially going to kill power to the engine if you're stopped for an extended period of time. You could toggle it off there if you want to though. The armrest inside of this thing, same stitching, which looks great. Popping it out. There's a fully removable tray and like so much space. Like I'm literally like elbow deep inside of this storage area. That's impressive. Glove box there. There's still that nice metallic highlight. But inside, nice amount of storage space. Up overhead, this thing does have auto-dimming rearview mirror, all of your basic controls for cabin lights, and then your shade control on top of that for the optional Panoramic Sunroof. So nice though. With single button press, opens it up most of the way. Well, opens it up, I should say, the shade the full way. But these buttons here, so you've got the option of creating a little cross breeze or button press to open up. Really nice. So single button press opens it up most way. Secondary button press opens it up that last inch and a bit. And then just button press to close it down. Oh, to close it again. Really nice. I just love how much it opens things up. Now let's get that shade closed as well. From there, typical Ford styling with the sunglasses holder. We've also got visor with your HomeLink system. So that's the garage door opener that you can program in. There's also business card holder, vanity mirror, hello, that has lights built in. And then this thing extends out to block all the sun that might be hitting your face. But you can see there's also an assist handle. And it's the same for the driver passenger side in the first and the second row. I'm going to set the driver's seat set up for myself. So the way that I would normally drive, there we go. Okay, so I'm 6 feet tall, and the way that I would normally drive, this is how I would have the seat set up. And when I set it up this way, there is a boatload of space for the second row. Looking at second row leg space inside of this thing, it's actually kind of ridiculous. I have a boatload of knee space, great amount of foot space, and then up overhead in the second row, that's where things get a little bit tight. So I'm like an inch, not even like half an inch maybe of headspace back here with me sitting fully upright. But one interesting thing, so there's a lever along the side and we could use that in order to fold the seat down, but you could also give yourself a really nice seat recline back here too. And I mean, doing that gives me like 5+ inches of headspace. So if you're a taller person and you have to sit in the second row, just know that you can recline the seat to give yourself a little bit more headspace if you need it. But the Edge is great because it's a wider vehicle in comparison to something like the Escape. So you have a boatload of space back here, which is great. 3 full-size versions of me, it would still be a little bit tight for the middle seat, but I mean, it's not impossible all at the same time. And then kid seats, front-facing, rear-facing, you're not going to have a problem because there are all the anchor points and tether points and things like that available here too. There's some pockets as well behind the first row seats on both the driver-passenger side too. Behind the armrest, there's a little storage tray, 2 USB Type-C power points, and then a 150-watt power point back there too. So, thing pops up, kind of nice. A few cup holders back here on top of that. So 2 individual cup holders, like they're bottle holders along the door, but it's nice having the actual cup holders. And then only other thing to point out, along the driver's side, you've got a little handle, clothing hook, and then a light. And that's the exact same along the passenger side. So a little handle, there's a hook, and a light back there too. But outside of that, there's not too much back here. There is the option for the thermoplastic rubber trays right from the factory. So if you're a bigger fan of having those rubber trays versus the carpeted mat, that is available. But a great amount of space in the second row of the Edge. I like it. And then obviously if you need a little bit more space, you could always look at the Explorer instead. And that's where you get 3 rows. So you've got either dual captain's chairs in the second row of the Explorer or a bench seat, and then 2 seats in the back. So you've got some options there. But if you want a comparison video of the Edge and the Explorer, or if you want some Explorer-specific videos, you'll find those down in the description of the video. But I'm impressed with the Edge. I do like the Edge ST line. It's all the basic highlights that you've got in here, but the sunroof really does it for me because of how much it just opens this thing up. And that was a look at the 2023 Ford Edge ST line. I personally would still probably go for the ST myself because I love all the power, but this thing is still a pretty good second contender. What'd you think? If you have any questions, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. As I mentioned, you can find the build link for this specific one and the contact details for Formula Ford down in the description. But if you enjoyed this one, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and until I see you next time, take care.